Well, Apple TV Plus is out, and I think there's a grand total of 3% of users that are actually going to try to pay for it. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I want to talk about the fact that we know the 16-inch MacBook Pro is coming. While we thought we would have got it earlier in the week, or Apple was going to follow up with another website refresh, they haven't. It's still delayed. We're not exactly sure what Apple's mentality is, but what I can tell you is there's probably not going to be another event before the end of the year, now that AirPods Pro have launched, and now that we know more about the 16-inch MacBook Pro, you'll understand why this does not deserve an event. This really doesn't. So that's kind of the good news. Bad news of this situation is it exists, it's coming, it's just gonna suck, and you're all gonna hate it. Maybe hate's a strong word. Anyway, let's begin. The reason we know the 16-inch MacBook Pro is coming soon is thanks to God himself, who granted me a vision last night and I saw it, and most of you think I'm joking, but we actually know it's happening because within macOS Catalina, there was a photograph of the updated keyboard and form factor for the 16-inch MacBook Pro. That's right, I did say form factor, which does mean this thing is not in the same general footprint as the 15-inch MacBook Pro. No. This is just gonna be bad. This is Apple going in the chonk direction, isn't it? Some of you might like this, I guess, but the reason so much of us got excited was because we heard 16-inch MacBook Pro, and because it's Apple, we were like, there's no way they would make a laptop bigger again, right? we underestimated them. This is the year of Apple doing things we never thought they could do. You know, when some people say innovation, they think foldable smartphone, or they think infinite battery life, or landing on Mars. No, when Apple thinks innovation, they think new volume indicator. They think changing the camera resolution from within the app. They think AirPods with rubber tips. And they think MacBooks getting chunkier than last year's. This is normally not something they do, but when comparing the 15-inch MacBook Pro, which obviously has the Touch ID and Touch Bar connected, and now this updated image clearly from a MacBook that's not out yet, with Touch ID separated from the Touch Bar, confirming our overly stupidly analytical analysis of that icon that we saw in macOS Catalina and said, hey, that keyboard looks like a couple pixels off. Well, turned out we were right to assume that something was different there. It appears that on the right side, at least, there's going to be Touch ID separated. That's also doubling as the power button. And the other thing this icon also confirms is that this is likely a butterfly keyboard. So Quo, you get another strike. You ended up being wrong about that, but he has also updated his report saying that the scissor key MacBook is not coming until next year now, but he said it was coming this year for a while, so we're gonna have to keep that part in mind. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that on the latest generation butterfly keyboard, there's been little to no complaints. Not that many people have mentioned it getting sticky keys or needing to take it into an Apple store to get repaired. It took them 4 generations. It took them way too long to get these butterfly keyboards working reliably, but it appears in the past few months that they're all working now. I have not seen many people say that the new generation has a sticky key issue. If you're having one, please let it be known, because I'm sure the media will run with it, but it appears that they'll be sticking around with a butterfly keyboard for the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and like I said earlier, the form factor is larger. The speaker grill is going out further than before, which does mean that Apple is making a 16-inch MacBook Pro, which is literally just a bigger MacBook Pro. They're not shrinking the bezels down drastically to fit inside of the old footprint. This is going to be heavier than a 15-inch MacBook and have a slightly larger screen. So on the MacBook Pro order page, you're going to have 13, 15, and 16 inches to choose from, which... there are some perks to this. I'm hoping they're mostly performance related, because this was not the big design overhaul we were all hoping for, and knowing that now, it makes sense that Apple didn't want to have an event about it. You don't need to gather together all the sweaty nerds just to say that the MacBook's slightly bigger now. We went into Photoshop, we clicked drag, and we made it larger than before. I'm hoping this means we can get some better cooling systems inside, we can get some updated CPUs and GPUs, so that it's a very performance-driven MacBook, but yeah, aside from that, you shouldn't expect this thing to be very groundbreaking. Obviously, when the MacBook drops, I'm gonna do a video on it. I'll talk about all the changes they made, if many at all, but I imagine they're gonna be mostly related to just how the Mac performs. And there may be a demographic for it, people that want really, really powerful Macs that they take with them on the go. Most of them playing Hot Lava from Apple Arcade. I'm sure that's what 99% of Mac users do. So making sure that we find a way to stuff a GTX 2080 in the next MacBook Pro, that's gonna be a top priority. But DigiTimes, which has had a a very bumpy track record, maybe trying to cover themselves in the slightest report, but anyway, they are saying that Apple's going to be receiving shipments of the 16-inch MacBook Pro in Q4 of 2019, which people have mentioned that doesn't guarantee that it's coming out before the end of the year, but I think it makes the most sense that it is. They wouldn't be burying these types of pictures in macOS Catalina if the MacBook wasn't going to come out for another 5 months. Doesn't really make sense. Anytime we get pictures this close and this accurate to the next gen product, it's usually because the release is a few weeks or maybe a month or so away. Maybe more, but my guess is that once the Mac Pro becomes available, which it did just get approved by the FCC for sale, so that also encourages the fact that this thing will likely start shipping before the end of the year. They'll probably just have a Mac Day. One of these days, it could literally happen at any time. Apple will drop the bomb on us and say, okay, the Mac Pro is available. The wheels cost $1,000 a piece. We know you're gonna pay for it, so screw you. And also, the MacBook Pro got slightly larger, has some updated specs, and we removed the headphone jack because screw you guys, we hate all of you, and we're gonna frame you for murder. But you'll likely see that in the newsroom page. And we just thought because Apple dropped AirPods Pro on Monday, and there were several leakers saying the MacBook Pro would drop before the end of October, which, they missed that one. We figured the MacBook Pro would be coming this week as well, because earlier in the year, Apple dropped several things consecutively 3 days in a row. We thought it was another one of those. It wasn't, but still happening eventually. It's possible that because of situations like AirPower, Apple is trying to tighten up all the loose screws on the drum kit and make sure that they don't release things and then have to delay them later. It makes you wonder, you know, if Apple's been working on AirPods Pro for so long, why didn't they announce them at the September event with the iPhones? Probably because they don't like having this "it's coming later" thing at the keynote, and this will be available at some point. Apple wants to be a bit more tight with their schedules, and they did showcase the exact opposite of the AirPower launch with AirPods Pro. The reason we didn't believe this was going to be a website refresh was because all website refreshes have always been so minor, just CPU boosts and never any design changes. AirPods have looked the same for so long, and then one day they just dropped them on the site, completely redesigned, all these new features, and there's not even a pre-order period. They're literally available, and we all see the new features all at the same time, and then they ship them like the next day. It's crazy that at the beginning of this week, we didn't know these things even existed, and now I'm holding them in my hand. That's how quick Apple's accelerating these release cycles. So I think that means there's a good chance when the 16-inch MacBook Pro drops, that was not a voice crack. Puberty is over. Wake up, vocal cords! It'll probably start shipping pretty soon. That's the point I'm trying to get at. They'll drop the Mac Pro, they'll drop the 16-inch MacBook Pro, and be like, okay, do your stupid Adobe exporting tests now. For one, don't expect much coverage of that hardware for me because I'm not in the market for a Mac, and I don't even want to buy one for reviewing purposes, especially given the new MacBook Pro is supposed to be this minor of an upgrade. Now it's going to physically look almost exactly the same. It's just a little bigger. But anyway, that sums up everything we know about the MacBook Pro thus far. Could literally come tomorrow, in which case this video will be very outdated. But let me know what you guys think of it by hitting me up over on Twitter or joining our Discord. This is your Apple Sheep here, and don't eat Cheetos over your butterfly keyboards. Don't you know butterflies don't like Cheetos? It's very obvious. Everyone knows that. Was I the only one paying attention in school that day? Good grief. All right, see ya.